Good evening, my children of the night. Halloween is just around the corner. Well, around the corner, down a couple blocks. Gotta go past the Walmart and the Mickey D's. If I want to take a bus to Halloween, it's a long walk and it's hot as a taint out there. Woof. It's the time of year when we celebrate the things that scare us. The ghouls and goblins of our childhood, haunting the recesses of our mind. Ghoulish things, hellish things, things that keep us up at night, furthering our addiction to Ambien. Now I know plenty of people have already done a top 10 scary stuff list, and good for them. But they're looking at it with the eyes of an adult, pretending to be a child. Instead, you should ask me. Remember, drugs have rendered me with the brain of a toddler. Even at a young age, we understood the fun of fear. Were we really that scared by the boat scene in Willy Wonka? Disturbed, maybe, but I always thought it was the coolest part of the movie. Or that nightmare scene in The Brave Little Toaster. I understood it was supposed to be scary, therefore, I wasn't scared. I liked when the villains were big and frightening, and made the heroes seem that much more badass. Then you get into a different territory, the unintentionally scary. The terror you weren't prepared to face. With that in mind, here is Inadvertent Nightmare Stuff. Presented as a top 10 list, because top 10 lists get more viewer hits. Well, it's not evil to want more revenue, is it?
When the sun goes down and the moon comes up, I turn into a teenage goo-goo muff.
Now remember, I'm avoiding subjects that were supposed to be scary. So things like the opening scene from Crybaby Lane will not make the cut. Hey, remember when I reviewed that last year? Hint, hint. So we start this list with number 10, Bramble Scramble.
Bramble Scramble?
Hey, it's a guru of horror that done splatters of blood on the cinemas.
Bramble Scramble. That sounds like a menu item at Denny's. And as the resident horror aficionado, I must say, your list has already failed to frighten.
Well, that may be true.
And?
Hear me out.
Well, alright, but if I'm not satisfied, I'm gonna send my minions out to get ya.
Minions? You got minions? How'd you get minions? I want minions. I got the sex engine for it.
Wait, what?
Bramble Scramble! As usual, the number 10 spot is designated to the thing that doesn't really belong on the list. But I wanted to bring it up anyways. For those of you who never played Donkey Kong Country Part 2, Bramble Scramble was a level in Crimland, the crappiest place on Earth. Somehow you were shrunk down to the size of an aphid and thrust into a world of thorny vines. One touch was instant death. More than half the level you'd spend floating about on a stupid parrot with awful flight control. Your only defense was vomiting a Trisket at your enemies. It was a very frustrating level that dragged you to the brink of absolute madness. And then there was the music. Have you ever been really mad and then a very calming, mellow song comes on the radio that just pisses you off even further? Listen to this. Sounds like a Fruitopia commercial or like a reject from a Pure Moods album. Pure Moods. As you can imagine, navigating a death maze while dangling from the talons of an obese cockatoo is pretty stressful, only exacerbated by that hippy-dippy music. There's another level called Bramble Blast that's got the same setup, but with cannon barrels instead of that parrot, which is kind of a relief, but still stressful. Stress equals nightmares, and I once had a nightmare that I was trapped in a giant bramble patch while bees buzzed around my head and that music wouldn't stop looping. Now let's move on to something a little less stressful and a little more scary. Aliens! You know, as gruesome as the xenomorph alien is, when I was a youngin', I thought it was awesome. And damn it, I still want the xenomorph action figure. He could fight my Robocop, Rambo, and Gordon Gekko action figures, each sold separately. Yeah, we kids in the 80s had toys based on R-rated properties, so we were pretty jaded. However, there were still things that freaked me the hell out. Number 9, the aliens from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah, Close Encounters wasn't a scary movie in the least. Wasn't supposed to be. Unnerving, sure, particularly the abduction scenes. And it's uneasy watching Richard Dreyfuss lose his mind. Up in here, up in here. There's a lot of build up to the alien encounter at the end, and you wonder, What do these things look like? Penis piranhas? Pfft, it's been done. And suddenly, it came from the uncanny valley. The little aliens aren't too bad, but the larger alien? Ugh. The problem I have is that the tall guy is too human-like. And there's something unsettling about things that are almost human but not quite. And the fuzzy, blurry camera isn't helping any. As a kid, when the big alien showed up, I always hid behind the couch. It just freaked me out the way Daleks frightened little British kids. I considered putting E.T. in this spot since a lot of you find him equally creepy, but he at least knows how to party. And let's not even mention Mac from Mac and Me. I want nightmares, not repressed mental trauma. We will return to the uncanny valley of death at the number 1 spot. For now, let's go to Canada. It figures that the guy who made a 20-minute retrospective about Storylords would eventually talk about this program, right? Coming to us from the ancient era of 1979, TV Ontario's Read All About It told the tale of young newspaper writers caught up in the adventurous world of low-budget TV science fiction. Their office is home to 2 cheap-ass robots and a teleporter that beams the kids to the galaxy of Trialveron. Trialveron? Sounds like a crappy DSL provider. I'll stick with more juice, thank you. Along their journeys, the kids meet an assortment of fictional characters such as Captain Hook, Dracula, Rip Van Winkle, and Graham Greene. But one of their adventures takes them on a hunt for number 8 on this list. The Book Destroyer. Fictional characters are slowly disappearing and it's all the work of a disembodied voice that merely states, "There is no escape." As the movie Jaws showed us, the worst monsters are the ones you can't see. They could be anything, including a shark. So the Book Destroyer could be any number of unpleasant creatures. I imagined a shark with paper shredder teeth. After several episodes, the kids finally confront the monster.
Oh, I know everything. I'm the Book Destroyer.
Ah, you're so... well, above average, actually.
I'm the Book Destroyer.
You're what?
And it ends up the Book Destroyer is just pissed that her own story was so crummy.
Is that all?
Not a very good story, is it?
Not good. It's boring.
So yeah, it's all because someone needs a hug.
It's not fair.
Still, the lead up is pretty frightening. Even though the Book Destroyer was meant to be more mysterious and actually scary, she starts off as a very intimidating villain and takes the number 8 spot. Besides, I don't think this show could handle an actual monster. Did you see what they did to Dracula?
I'm evil, I admit it. I'm a villain through and through. Oh, I could tell you stories of the wicked things I do.
See if we can get Count Dracula to reenact that scene. Speaking of books, number 7 on our list may be too spooky for children under 7. Yeah, you remember the Goosebumps books, right? They were never really scary, but good for cheap mouth frights like one of those latex monster masks from the bargain bin at Walgreens. But what's worse is when you, an elementary school student, read an entire Goosebumps book, all 20 pages of it, only to discover that the book sucked. We were used to legit scares like Night of the Living Dummy, Welcome to Camp Nightmare, and, well, tell me this cover doesn't make you shit yourself in fear. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you had the weaker books like Chicken Chicken, How I Learned to Fly, and Egg Monsters from Mars, where the titular egg monsters were as harmless as bunny rabbits. Then you have the infamous Deep Trouble, where kids were won over by the promise of sharks with paper shredder teeth, and instead had to settle for the actual plot. Mermaids. Sometimes author R.L. Stine just fell in love with a title like The Abominable Snowman from Pasadena without giving 2 shits about the plot. For a lot of us, this was our first experience of feeling ripped off by a beloved franchise, instilling us with a fear that nothing can be trusted. So these rip-off Goosebumpless books take the number 7 spot. Reader beware, you're in for a scare. Sometimes. So going from something that's supposed to be scary but isn't, to something that's not supposed to be scary but is, number 6 comes from Sesame Street. If you'll recall, Sesame Street had this recurring segment called Monsterpiece Theater. Cookie Monster, here known as Alistair Cookie, would introduce the bit, which was usually a parody of a book or movie. In the early 90s, David Lynch captured America's attention with a little show called Twin Peaks. Of course, you're not actually successful until Sesame Street parodies you. That's right, this show meant for toddlers made a spoof of a surreal murder drama and called it Twin Beaks.
Diane, this Agent Cookie reporting. Me in town called Twin Beaks. Darn fine town.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
Darn fine pie.
Damn good food.
You can see that the writers of the sketch were fans of Twin Peaks. But what makes this skit so unintentionally frightening?
Me want to know why town is called Twin Beaks.
Those deformed Muppet birds just hanging around the Double R Cafe.
That not darn fine answer.
I checked online. A lot of people said they were freaked out by these abominations, which is really weird considering they're just felt in glue. Muppets were just that real to us. When they're that close to being birds but aren't, well, it's the Uncanny Valley all over again. Hey, look at that, it's the log lady.
Do you know why this town is called Twin Beaks?
How should I know? I'm a log.
So having captured that surreal weirdness of David Lynch...
David Finch.
David Finch. Twin Beaks takes the number 6 spot.
Diane, me hurt the log's feelings today, and me no closer to finding out why they call this place Twin Beaks.
As for number 5, remember when I said E.T. was kind of a cool guy? That wasn't always the case. E.T. Adventure, the It's a Small World of Universal Studios. Minus a goddamn song, of course. The ride starts out fine and is exactly what you expect. A kinda dark ride where shit jumps out at you from all angles. Fuck the police. Add to that the feeling of flight and it's a thrilling air-conditioned journey. Then, as you fly your way to freedom, you enter a wormhole and emerge beyond the black rainbow.
Welcome home. You returned.
Got a bad feeling about this. The mushrooms are talking, that shouldn't be.
You have saved our life!
Keep away from me, you dull-headed terror! Oh god, what was in those brownies? This is the part that terrified me. Creepy alien puppets and a Technicolor blunderland. There's the reason we never saw E.T.'s homeworld. The very sight of the celestial monstrosities and Euclidean geometry would drive a mortal mind to madness. It's a world of laughter and a world of tears. Tears is right. Once when I rode this attraction, the ride broke down right next to this miniature laughing alien guy. Just imagine that thing cackling in your ear for what felt like hours. Give me my gun. Say hello to my little friend. A walkie-talkie. Damn it, Spielberg! And just to pile on the scary, E.T. knows your name.
Jasmine, Holly, Travis.
He also knows your address, phone number, and credit card history. Spielberg is gonna use your credit card to fund his crappy War of the Worlds remake. Oh, I can't harp on Spielberg, he's a master of his craft. Just like Richard Williams is a master of animation. Although I'm sure he's not very proud of the next entry on this list. From the film Raggedy Ann and Andy, a musical adventure, that just rolls right off the tongue, comes my number 4 entry, The Greedy. At first sight, this seems like a child's dream come true. Mounds and mounds of candy as far as the eye can see.
The taffy pit is my domain.
But this big rock candy mountain is alive and wants to steal your heart.
It's her heart now, but soon it will be mine.
Kalima. It's a combination of the voice acting and the surreal animation that makes this so disturbing.
I don't feel so well. Pardon me, please, sorry.
The rest of the movie...
Terrific! Great!
Really, really good. The music got to me in a very certain way.
It's alright. It's at least interesting to look at. The Greedy, on the other hand...
That big googly eye thing with eating all that candy.
When I was 5, I had a dream that I was trapped in the Greedy.
I cannot go on living like this.
Halloween became not much more disturbing in between the razor blade apples. Perhaps what is most frightening is that we can see a little bit of the Greedy inside all of us. Tell me there aren't days when you're sad and gorge on junk food and feel like a mound of taffy and cholesterol. That's why I maintain a high self-esteem by making sure In Media Mixtape Meltdown, I talked about the animation genius Richard Williams. This must have been what he saw while in a diabetic coma. Or maybe he dropped acid and played Candyland. Either way, let's just move on. I don't want to look at this thing anymore. Taffy butt cheek ocean, ugh. The next item on the list is not an image, but a sound. Take a look at this. This is a bubble. It will save your life. When you are underwater, collecting rings, your breath will begin to run out. Your body will send endorphins to your brain that'll tell you to get oxygen. This is what it sounds like. And then you learn the valuable lesson that hedgehogs weren't meant to live underwater. Vacuum of outer space is completely fine, but water's a death trap. And number 3 is the drowning sound effect from Sonic the Hedgehog. There's never been a more stressful sound in all video game history. What's worse is standing beside one of those bubble stacks waiting for a large bubble to get your breath back. Every tiny air pocket is a tease when that countdown begins. Come on, big bubble, big bubble, big bubble. Oh, come on, I'm dying here, I'm dying. Oh, there it is. Only to do it all over again. I mean, sure, I could take the high road through the treetops, but that requires taking my time, and I am not slowing down in a game called Sonic. I mean, I gotta beat this thing in one sitting. The bus will be here in 10 minutes. Oh my god, and I haven't eaten my cereal yet. Come on, hurry, 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 fuck! You suck at this game, Melissa Joan Hart. Whew. Well, my heart is pounding after that. I wonder what it looks like under all this flesh. Oh, I take it back. I don't want to see that. I'm trying to eat. For those of you who don't recognize this fellow, this is edutainment personality Slim Goodbody, and he takes the number 2 spot. Well, I have nothing bad to say about Slim. I mean, you look at him like this, and he's an entertaining, energetic wealth of knowledge pertaining to anatomy and biology.
How I love to feel the drive, and I'm glad to be alive.
Seems to be manifesting his inner Liza Minnelli. And then you look at his choice of wardrobe.
A small and a large intestine.
Gets me every time. And it's not the print that has me so weirded out. The organs and bones are actually kind of a cool concept for a biology teacher. What sets me on edge is simply the fact that every time I look at him, I expect to see his wang. It's a man with a juvro and a flesh-colored bodysuit. Did somebody steal his trench coat? Is flashing gone to a whole new bizarre level? Is he a stand-in for Robbie Williams in that rock DJ video? As a child of the 90s, I always assumed he was just a grown man cosplaying as Inside Out Boy. But he's been doing this shtick since 1975. The Slim Goodbody character came about when actor John Burstein was entertaining kids on a hospital boat and wanted a way to teach the child patients about nutrition and the like. So he donned a suit, grabbed his guitar, and found a strange new way to give me nightmares. He scored a show on PBS a few years later and has been doing various programs ever since. Burstein continues to tour the country to this day, teaching the next generation about proper nutrition, exercise, and all that crap you need to live. Fortunately, the costume has been altered drastically, so now he looks like a guy in a sweater with a cool screen print as opposed to... Oh, Slim, don't sit like that. By the way, he calls himself a superhero, but I think he needs a good nemesis like Fat Bad Body.
Hey, Slim Goodbody, your epidermis isn't showing.
Well, we've reached the number 1 spot. Who should get the honor of being the most inadvertently frightening thing from my childhood? The Yeti from Downhill Ski? The Kinder Surprise Humpty Dumpty? Any number of creepy puppets from Christian television? I could choose something obvious. Something we've all heard of. Teddy Ruxpin, for instance. That's pretty frightening. But then I'd be failing the hipster code because you've already heard of that and talked about it. So number 1 on this list, Dino Man.
Ooh, Dino Man! That's even more stupid than Bramble Scramble.
Oh, you think so?
Well, what is he? Some kind of superhero-themed dinosaur?
No, actually. It's this. I know, right? And I'm not exaggerating. That thing has haunted my nightmares for years. Even to this day, whenever I feel stressed or have a bad trip, in my dreams I see this thing lurking around the corners, waiting to, stare at me with those giant eyes. Like doll's eyes. Now, it's not overtly scary, and it looks like it can be easily defeated by a swift kick to the shins. But what is scary is what we read into it. This sculpture, titled Dino Man, was created by paleontologist Dale Russell as a speculative thought experiment. Russell imagined what dinosaurs would have evolved into had they not gone extinct. The Troodon, seen on the left, had a brain that suggested near-human intelligence, and was the most likely candidate to evolve to a higher level. They would have walked upright, been very skinny, and would have fed their young by spitting into their mouths like birds. and make an Alicia Silverstone reference, and my job here is done. Other paleontologists have scoffed this theory, saying the Troodon would have evolved into something more reptile-like. Others say dinosaurs did evolve into birds. Now, Dino Man showed up in a number of science documentaries, casting that vacant gaze on a number of school children who just innocently wanted to learn more about the Parasaurolophus. T-Rex will eat your body. Dino Man will eat your sanity. As I said earlier, this is another case of the uncanny valley syndrome. It looks human, but it's just off enough that it becomes disturbing. Our brains can't cope with the discrepancy, and the image gets burnt into our minds as a Lovecraftian horror beyond our comprehension. When in reality, it's just a crappy statue. You'll never be able to predict what a child finds scary. You'll never be able to predict what you yourself find scary. But becoming afraid of irrational, trivial things, and then facing your fears, is what makes you a stronger person.
I'll never look at dinosaurs the same way again!
That talk about the Bramble Scramble music got me thinking about those old Pure Mood CDs. Let's see what we got. Hey, this person on Craigslist is giving one away for free. Meet me in the next episode.
You better die when I show up.
And now, the Big Bad Wolf reviews Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Not good. It's boring.
I'll never look at dinosaurs the same way again. Hey!